Casillas, thank you for your time. Really appreciate
Thank you for having me.
Definitely. So go ahead and introduce yourself and what do you do?
Okay, my name is Carlos Casillas and I'm the owner and founder of AKWAPRO. We do water filtration for whole homes. We can do businesses and everything, but we focus mostly on homes.
And when did you first start that business?
We started in June of 2022.
So right after the pandemic?
No, 22.
Oh, 2022.
Yeah, the pandemic was still going on, or the excuse for the pandemic was still going on, but no, it was already very light.
And what motivated you to go into this type of business?
I was in the solar industry, and I got tired of solar, all the problems that solar came with, installers having difficulties keeping up with installations or the bureaucracy of the system and installs and everything. And I wanted to do something else. And at the time, my best friend was one of the owners, or is one of the owners of Meraki, and I did not want to step on his toes and do something solar so that I wouldn't affect them. So I decided to do water, and so far it has paid off. It has been a good business. Obviously, it requires hard work like any other job, like any other business, but it has been really good for us.
That's good, that's good. And because of Angel, that's how you got into the solar industry?
Yes. I used to do computers, pretty much a computer geek all my life. I had a business, ER Computer Doctors, for almost 20 years. And it was a really great business, don't get me wrong, but I was a slave of the business. It was a very, very demanding business, especially because people, regardless if you had employees or not, people wanted me to be the one that took care of their problem. So I can only do so much. The day only has 24 hours, so you get burnt out. But I was still happy doing it. But I had a divorce, and it hit me in every way possible, economic, morally, everything. So I kept spending money like there was no tomorrow, even though I had just lost a lot of money.
Yeah.
So
On the divorce?
on the divorce, yes, it was an expensive divorce. So anyway, I called my brother and asked him, hey, you're in the car business, but you don't sell cars anymore. Is there any way you can like get me in there, and then whenever people call you, because they still call him for cars, and you just give it to another salesman, let me be that salesman. I said, oh no, that's nepotism and they're not gonna like it or whatever, but call Angel. So that's when I called Angel Flores, and we sat down and we talked, and I was not really sold. I did not like the idea. I just thought it was too good to be true.
Because this was right when it started, right?
That's when solar has been out there forever, right? But when the new method of selling, which was like the door-to-door and all that type of that scheme, that was pretty much imported from the alarm industry and the cable industry.
The ADT.
Exactly. So I said, I'm not a big fan. So anyway, after talking to Angel and everything, he challenged me, and I said, okay, let's give it a shot. And yeah, it worked. It was really good. But the problem with solar is mostly how, in any sales industry, you know how the sales rep will make it or break it.
Yeah.
That's besides even the companies doing their job or not. And the biggest issue with solar and water and even car industry is that salespeople like to tell the customer what they want to hear and not necessarily the truth. So a lot of people were being sold smaller system that their property is required, and it was a big issue. And that goes around. It's not something specific to Meraki. It's not something specific to anyone. It's everywhere. It's everywhere, yes. So I was fixing a lot of those problems with customers talking, having install issues or repair issues or whatever. And there was a point that I just got burnt out. It was hard not being supported from, not getting support from the installing company, not getting support from anywhere. It was just trying to fit the ocean in a glass of water. So I said, you know what? It's not even my company. My last name is not Meraki. My last name is not Solar. And like I said, I did not want to step on my friend's toes. So I said, okay, let me do a business that will feed my family, but at the same time will not affect them. And that's why I decided to do water.
And how did you specifically start with the water?
What do you mean, how specifically?
Yeah, like did you go to a supplier? How did you get the?
Well, initially you talk to people that are already doing it, like friends. And in this world, all of us are, I know a lot of people in the solar industry, I know a lot of people in the water industry, I know a lot of people in different types of industry. And technically, we're friends and competitors at the same time, but
Yeah.
we all understand that there's no such thing as real competition if you're not affecting others if you do your thing without bad mouthing other companies or whatever. So they were really nice to help me out, giving me pointers. I started working first with some other guys that were already doing it, where they were supplying me first until I eventually became my own
Supplier.
distributor. Exactly. But yes, you have to figure out, go with people that have already suffered. Let's just say
Yeah,
all
learn
the
from their failures, basically.
exactly. So and like I said, they helped me out. Even though they are my competitors, but we're still friends. I'm not gonna tell you that we talk every day, but probably every other week we talk, we text,
Yeah.
and we don't affect each other because there's enough people in the city or in the area to have enough for all of us. So I just think it's always good to have a good relationship everywhere. You never want to burn bridges.
Exactly. And that's what I talk a lot about networking, because networking could get you in tables where you never know. Maybe that's the person that could help you out. Like, for example, you went to someone, and then from there you became your own distributor. And as far as that, you mentioned also you had the computer business, the ER computers, right?
That is correct.
That's your first business?
That's my first official registered, like real business. Yes, that's my very first business. I started it back in 2000, precisely February 5th of 2000. I had a business partner back then. We used to work for my dad. We both, my family has buses, and he was the main computer guy, and I was his employee, or his subordinate. And we saw that we both knew a lot. He knew a lot more than I did, and I learned a lot from him. And he said, okay, let's give it a shot. But we had no knowledge, no experience.
You didn't go to college for any of that?
Computer science.
Oh, okay.
Yes, but computer science has nothing to do with what I have ever done in my life. Computer science is programming. Computer science is something completely different. I actually have never used computer science in my life, to put it that way. Of course, I have programmed several things. Like I mentioned earlier, I designed the valve for my fire pit and stuff like that, which is all computer programmed. That's why I can go through voice. But the point is, I discovered that in service or doing the technical stuff, that it was a lot more profitable. Of course, demanding in time and effort, but highly profitable. So I did that, and we rented that place February 5th of 2000, of the year 2000. And they gave us the keys. We sat there, and I was like, now what? What are we gonna do? We know how to fix computers, but how are we gonna draw people in? What are we gonna do? So anyway, we got a lot of support from friends and family. To tell you the truth, those are the ones that are actually made us, because from there they started recommending us. The only money we ever put into the business was the deposit for the rent, the first month's rent, and then the deposit for the utilities and whatever we needed to buy. But I'll tell you, we were dirt poor. We started with buying, like, we would go to the swap meets like Fox Plaza and Scarate and whatever we would find. Back then there was no Facebook or not even Craigslist. So we look at the newspaper, whoever was selling anything, we would go and buy it. And so we would like buy the crappiest crap, like cheap, whatever we could buy with little or no money, and then just kind of give it a little bit of a fix up and use it for tables, use it for counters, use it for work areas. And little by little, we started growing, because it only took about 18 hours a day of work for us to get it working. I was there before 7 a.m. I would get home sometimes 1, 2 a.m. and get home and still working on stuff. Get there the next morning and getting it running. So that business gave us a lot of work, a lot of money. But the problem is that I had absolutely no life.
You couldn't scale it.
Well, I guess I probably did not have the vision or the. I'm a control freak, and I always have to be on top of everything. And you can only accomplish so much if you're gonna have to be on top of everything. So no, I never had that vision to do something like the Geek Squad or something like that. So that falls on me. But yet still was a business that gave me enough to travel over the world, get whatever vehicle I ever wanted, get whatever property, do whatever I wanted, except time. I never had time. That's why whenever people tell me, oh, you own your own business, it's awesome because you can do whatever you want, whenever you want, I laugh and I go like, yes, I can do whatever I want as long as it's before 7 a.m. and after 2 a.m. I have all that free time, so let's do whatever you want. So yeah, no, it was awful.
And you mentioned to me with that business, you lost a lot of money with the divorce.
Well, I lost a lot of money with the divorce because it gave me a lot of money. And the business was still a really good business. The problem was that I stopped working. I started, call it depression, call it whatever. I started like canceling appointments, postponing appointments, not showing up to work. The employees were doing all this stuff, but I was never the same. You know that if you want to have a successful business, you have to be always on top. And I was the main, call it diagnoser, the main brains of the operation. People were just mostly my tools, my hands, my stuff. A lot of people were always relying on my feedback to apply a solution, and I was just like giving a damn.
And when that happened with the divorce, did you keep the business? Did you sell it?
I still kept it. I divorced in 2016, but I got rid of the business in 2019.
Did you sell it or you just?
I sold it to my employee, but I basically gave it away.
Okay.
I basically gave it away. I didn't want to have anything to do with it anymore because I got into solar and I started making some really good money. I said, well, I was in the wrong business because it does require me doing sales and going out and whatever. But I'll tell you one thing, even though it's a door knocking business, whoever knows me knows that I never knocked the freaking door. I knock doors for pictures. And the funny thing is I knock doors to get pictures. And I actually sold some of those deals.
Yeah.
I would go to your house, knock the door, and say, I'm here just to someone be filming me and taking the picture so that, because they required, in order to be in management, for you to be a door knocker. And bam, I would sell them. So it was good. I'm not going to tell you all of them, but then again, I only knocked probably 20 doors. And out of those 20, 4 or 5 sales came out. Yeah. My business came out of me sharing my commission. What I would do is I would tell my friends and family, hey, I'm in a business that pays really good commission, really good money. Send me referrals and I will split the commission. I'll give you 50%. Whatever the commission is, I'll give you that commission. And guess what happened?
They didn't.
They didn't give a shit. They ignored me. So I kept insisting. No one believed me. Like no one, like, oh yeah, sure, okay, I'll give you something later. I'll give you something later. So no one gave me anything. So after finally one day, one friend said, like, yes, shut up. Here's an electric bill. I talked to them. They're interested. Here's an electric bill. Here's an electric bill. Okay, awesome. I went ahead. I talked to the person because they will give me the electric bill and the customer's information. Obviously, the bill has the address, but I wasn't just going to show up there. So I would ask him for their phone number, whatever, set up an appointment, went and closed it. And back then, there was another installer at Meraki that was installing pretty fast. And we were getting paid right after installation. We were getting paid, I think, back then 50% after a certain process went through, and then another 50% at install. So anyway, I got paid full amount like in 3.5 weeks probably. So anyway, I show up one day with my friend and I give him a check for $3,300. He asked me like, what is this? So, well, remember that you gave me that bill and the commission was $6,600, so here's your 33. From that day on, I started getting referrals like there was no tomorrow because these people were skeptical. They didn't believe that it was true. So from that moment on, because it's the same group of friends, even though they're probably different cells, different, we all know each other. So the word got out that it was true, that I was paying out, that it was not just me talking. So they started sending me referrals left and right. I could be in the bathroom in the morning or in the shower, and I had more referrals than someone that knocked for a whole month.
Yeah.
That's how good it got. I remember Angel, the first day he hired me, he told me that he needed 20 electric bills. 20 electric bills in my first 2 weeks for me to progress during the company. By the next morning, I had 32. I called everyone. I know a lot of people, so I called everyone, and I started making sales right away. I hit the ground running. I guess because you mentioned earlier networking, I know a lot of people, and I always treated my customers right. So I'm a firm believer that if you treat people right, people will treat you right. Unfortunately, it doesn't always happen, but that's how I did it. And I started out selling everyone. I remember back then that Angel had a prize, that it was a Rolex for the salesman of the year.
Oh, I remember.
But he told me that I was screwed because I only had October, November, December of 2018 to beat people that had been there for way longer than I had. So I said, you know what? Watch me. And I got that freaking watch. Yeah. So that watch gives me a lot of pride because it's not the watch. I have others. It's just the fact that I only had 3 months. And in those 3 months, I beat people that had the whole 12 months to compete with. And obviously, people started getting like some people like envy started happening, whatever. Like, you're an idiot because you're losing 50% of your commission. I said, it's costing you 50% of your commission. And the way I see life, it didn't cost me a penny because I didn't have that money.
More.
I didn't have that money at the beginning. I didn't have the money to begin with. So what I did is I would offer 50% of the commission. Granted, I was making less money per deal than other people were, but I was outselling them left and right.
Yeah.
So that's what I did. So back in January, there was going to be a cruise for all management. And at that time, I was not a manager. It was January 18th or something like that of 2019. And it was it was all the Meraki managers and I were in that cruise. And that's when they told me in that cruise that they were going to give me the management and everything. And I started,
okay, so you started as a salesman.
I started as a sales rep. Yes, of course. We all start. Well, if you really want to succeed in life, you have to start from the ground up. But you have to understand that regardless of what my background was and how good my business was prior to that, I was coming to a new industry, coming to a new anything that, I was nothing. I was nobody. So who was I to come in and expect to be in leadership or management or whatever? I just don't believe that. I don't believe that I'm self-entitled. I rather prove myself.
Yeah.
So I only sold for 3 months, to tell you the truth, because as of January I just started managing, and back then there was only 2 offices in El Paso, which was called Meraki East and Meraki West. And when I started, it was only Meraki West. I was one of 3 managers at the moment.
Oh yeah.
It was split in three managers, but then
there was a Horizon one open.
oh, that was the Horizon came out way later. But then they made Meraki East and Meraki West, and Edmundo and I don't remember who else kept Meraki West, and Brigham and I kept. You remember Brigham, right?
Yeah.
Got Meraki East, and at the beginning it was sucky. Like our first month kind of sucked. We still made like, I don't know, probably 30 something sales or whatever. But after we understood how to deal with the people, because it's not the same when you have other people, because we all have different talents. We all have different abilities, and our recruiting was one of the suckiest ones we had, like Brigham and I. So we started obviously mimicking what others were doing, and we managed to grow our office to go into the 200 sales. So we managed to get our office to get 200 sales within a matter of 2 months. So we were always competing, El Paso West and El Paso East. Back then, like I said, back in 2019, 200 sales per office, and that's just in El Paso.
I remember because they expanded to different.
Now in El Paso, there's probably 7 offices in Meraki, El Paso East, El Paso West. No, we're talking about, offices in other places, there was already some other offices. I don't remember. I would lie if I tell you which offices back then, but in El Paso, there was only like 2. Two groups, and then now it expanded to a bunch of offices within the same city. But back then it was only pretty much head managers was Edmundo on El Paso West, and I on El Paso East. And Edmundo's really good at recruiting. So I would actually learn. I always pay attention to what people do. I like to analyze people. That's my thing. I cannot avoid it. Paying attention to everything everyone does. So try to figure out what works and what doesn't, and that's how I managed to work with Brigham. Brigham and I made a great team. Brigham is a great soldier. He is a really committed seller. So it just happened. We managed to, his skills and my skills together, we managed to make it grow.
That's nice. And going back to the computer ER, before you opened that business, were you doing?
I was working for my father in the bus industry. Yeah, it's buses transporting people.
Just transporting
people. Yeah, it's like Greyhound. Let's just say like Greyhound. But because my grandfather was one of the ones that started in Mexico, it's called Omnibus de Mexico. That's a bus company over there, and he was one of the founding members of it. And out of the whole family, my dad is the only one that remained there. And they expanded to the U.S. That's the reason we live in El Paso. They expanded to the U.S. and I started working there. But obviously, I was a kid. I was 19 at the age. And I was like, I need to make more money. So I started vending machines. So I had like, I don't know, probably like, I don't remember at the moment, but around 8 vending machines, sodas and coffee machines and, snacks and stuff like that. And it was like shooting fish in a barrel because my dad would allow me to put them in his terminals. So imagine all those terminals were always packed with people, regardless of the people that were going to cities far away like Denver or Las Vegas or LA or whatever. It was always full because that was the only company that was going back and forth to Juarez. So people would go on the bus to go to Juarez and back and forth. So it was always full. So it was an amazing business. Back then, as a 19-year-old making about $1,000 a week on that, I felt like I was rich. Imagine 19 years old making $1,000 a year in 1997. It was quite a bit of money. So eventually I got into the IT department, which I couldn't tend the business anymore. So the machines just stay there, they just stay there, and I just never filled them up anymore because I was full with the projects because I had to be programming all the routes and creating. I was creating some software to get the best routing for diesel consumption, timings, being able to know how everything was operate, all the logistics. And that was taking a lot of my time. But then within the same company, my business partner and I created Icon Technologies. We created a company called Icon Technologies. That will be, let's call it, actually my first business, which we started distributing product. We started buying all the computer parts because the company was always buying computers, printers, supplies, motherboards, repair parts, you name it, hard drives. So instead of them buying it to someone else, they were buying it from us. My dad was the guy that would make the decisions. It was his company, so it was an easy, once again, shooting fish in a barrel. So I guess I don't count those as my companies or real companies because I had a lot of assistance. It was kind of not really me going through the struggle because it was all easy, shooting fish in a barrel. That's why, according to me, ER Computer Doctors is a real business because my first real business because we got in there without knowing how to run it, how to do anything. We knew our trade, but we didn't know how to get customers, how to charge, how to do anything. All the business aspect of it, but it was really good. At the beginning, it was hard, especially because I had the pressure that I was getting married in, this was February 5th of 2000. I was getting married in July, and I had just purchased a house, and I had resigned to my other job, so my only income was the income that this business could give me, but even though we didn't put any more money, we were not making enough to be paying us a good amount. I guess we didn't start paying us until May or June of that year, and not that much. So we were eating up our savings, but it was a sacrifice that really paid off because from there on it just snowballed to becoming a beast. Like I said, pretty much car I've ever wanted to have, I had it. I've been mostly all over the world. I've traveled mostly all over the world, and I don't know. That's where I actually got the sense of what it was to make money and spend money.
Yeah. And I know you had a BMW i8 and an Aston Martin. What are some of the other cars you've
I've had Lamborghinis, and I say that in plural. I've had Ferraris, Corvettes, mostly every model of BMW. I've never had Mercedes. I've never liked that brand. But I don't know. If it's something that interests me, I bought it.
Buy it. And what age did you first make your first million?
I would lie because it has never been one of those things that I've been. I don't know. It might sound kind of how can I say it? I don't want to sound snobby, but because I've always been around money, let's just say my parents and all that stuff, it's not one of those things that I'm wanting to reach.
You just never paid attention to it.
So I didn't pay attention to when I hit that benchmark, let's just say, but it becomes a habit of like getting somewhere and then not lowering it from
going
that
to the next goal.
And back then I would just rely on salary. I was not diversifying. I was just salary, whatever I was getting from my business, but I was not putting money anywhere else. And later, way later, I learned that I have to diversify, figure out a way to risk. And I learned, because obviously there's a lot of investment strategies, right? Where you can go very low risk or you can go medium. I'm the type of guy that says, screw it. If I'm going to win, I'm going to win big. If I'm going to lose big. So I don't like to gamble like Vegas style, but I gamble more in the in the investment world,
yeah.
yes. And overall, I've had losses, I have wins, but overall, I think I'm above from where I started.
All right. And when did you first start, since you started investing in different things? When did you first start in investing, and what was it?
Well, when I first started investing was in 2008, when the
The housing
financial
market
world,
and
when
all
the
that,
housing
yeah.
market, the financial world, everything went to hell. I started investing on all the ones that were dying. That was my strategy at the moment. I invested in Ford, I invested in GM, I invested in I forgot the name of it, but it was like one of those Fannie Mae, the one that actually went belly up. I invested in a bunch of places, and I lost quite a bit of money. But the good thing is that some of them did make up for it, for my losses, because I remember buying Ford for $1, and that was good.
Yeah.
That was good. I bought GM also very low. Unfortunately, GM when it got bailed out by the government, they killed that one, and they called it the new GM.
Yeah, yeah.
So all the old stocks, pretty much, my money just like went to pieces, like disappeared. Also, the one I had from I forgot the name of it, but it was like one of those Fannie Mae ones. I forgot the name, but it was one of the very popular ones that got killed back in 2008. But overall, I got the taste of what it was to win and lose there. Ford kept me afloat because thank God I put a little bit of money there. Eventually, when Facebook came out, I also bought Facebook. I still have it. I never bought Apple or anything because I was buying stocks that were low price. Because back then, I don't remember, but I think Apple was like around the $200, $300 neighborhood. And I'm like, man, if I'm going to invest $10,000, I'm only going to be able to get 30-something shares or whatever. And even if it doubles, is not that much or whatever. I was thinking of somewhere where I can get a bunch of shares, like thousands of shares. That way, if anything changes, it changes drastically, for good or for bad, right? And that's where I started. I learned, or I decided to start putting money into all the pink slips and a bunch of those penny stocks.
Penny stocks.
And many of those have paid off. As a matter of fact,
still hold them?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I'm not a day trader, therefore I'm not buying and selling constantly.
Yeah, you're a long-term investor.
I'm a long-term investor, yes. And so overall, long-term, yes. When I log into my brokerage account, you can see the cost and you can see the gains, and you'll see overall that it is winning.
And you also mentioned that you got into crypto pretty early as well. Right?
No, I did not. I was really stupid because I thought Bitcoin was the stupidest thing ever invented. I was able to get Bitcoin when I first learned of it because I know people got it in the pennies. But when I first heard of it, really into possibility of getting it, it was around the $7 neighborhood, and I just thought it was the stupidest thing. How would you buy something that is non-existent for $7? So even one of them would have been awesome today, right? But at the moment, it was stupid. Then it was at $70, which is it's around those numbers, right? But it was still 10 times more than I initially saw it, and I still thought it was stupid. So anyway, this was I don't know, what is it, 2010, 2011 type of area. So anyway, I just left crypto. I never got into it. I just forgot that crypto existed, or I blocked crypto out of my world, out of my life. So in 2017, I don't even know how, but I think it was one of my customers from ER Computer Doctors that started talking about crypto and getting the stuff, and it was hell to buy it because today, you can go to Coinbase, you can go many places and buy it really easily. Before, you had to go through exchanges, you had to buy one type of coin and then convert it to another, and it was a pain. And you cannot just deposit the money today and invest today. You had to submit a wire and then wait for the funds to clear. And it was not 7 days. It would be easily 14, 15, 20 days. So this was, I think, December of 16 when I sent some money. And the reason I say I think is because I know for sure that in January of 2017, I bought Ethereum. And I bought a lot of Ethereum. I bought into the thousands units. And back then I got it, I thought I had bought it more expensive, but when I logged in and I checked my prices, I got it for around 10 something each Ethereum. Yeah, around $10. And later on, I still hold it. I have not sold a single coin, not once. I have just purchased, but I have never sold. Some people have called me stupid because when I bought it, It was, I think I must have put in like around 20 something, 30K, around that neighborhood. And a few months later, like 2, 3 months later, it was already over $1 million. And I was like, man, should I sell it? Should I cash it? Should I not? And I was like shitting bricks, like, what should I do? And then, of course, I did not sell. And then for the longest time, it went down to $200,000. I'm like, fuck, I should have sold. Fuck, I should have sold. It's still many times over 6 times what I had invested, but still not the money that I had already gathered. But in 2021, because I stayed at 200,000 for the longest time. Around the neighborhood.
Right after the pandemic, that's when the bull run
it started staying for the longest time at that amount. And then all of a sudden, Ethereum started going up. And around March, I think, don't quote me on the exact dates, but I think around March, it started moving again, and it went to 400. And then people at Meraki were like, "Oh, you're an idiot, you should sell." I said, "No, I don't want to sell. I don't want to sell." I kept growing and growing and growing and growing. And then all of a sudden, the biggest peak I've ever had, fictitious peak because I never sold. And you know, when it comes to stock or crypto, you don't lose or you don't make money or you don't lose money until you actually sell, right? So it went up ridiculously. I think October 28th of 2021 has been the biggest numbers I've ever seen in my crypto account ever. But I didn't sell. Today, obviously, I regret because there could be a lot of money and I could have rebought the same number of shares or even more and still have a lot of money in my pocket for it. But, well, you know, foresight is 2020. Hindsight is 2020, right? So I didn't have the foresight to do it. So now I'm just holding for a next good bull run because my intention is for actually, I don't want the 8 digits. I'm looking for 9 digits. That's the number I'm looking for. Once I hit 9, then I sell.
Yeah, and I heard that every 5 years, don't quote me on this, I'm not a financial expert, but every 5 years, that's when the crypto bull run happens.
I would lie, I'm not an expert. Definitely, I'm not an expert. I've acquired a little bit of experience by losing and making money and stuff like that. But ultimately, I just look at patterns and hold. And I would lie if I tell you that I read the projects and get a lot into it or whatever. I just go with what I hear on the streets, right? And obviously, there's some people that are way better than I am that have given me advice. And I listen to them, and their advice has helped me.
And all the cars you've had, for example, you told me you sold your BMW last year. Do you see cars, for example, your Lamborghinis or Ferraris, as an investment? Because I know some people, they buy them, drive them for a little bit, then sell them for
never, because honestly, I have never really made money when I sell a car until 2021, 2022, when cars were ridiculous. I think that's the first time in my life that I actually sold a car more than I paid for it. Other than that,
was both the Aston Martin and the A.
That's why I sold them, because they were always parked there. My wife would every now and then use it, but they were always parked there. I don't know. It's more comfortable to drive my truck than it is to drive drive those cars. And I'll tell you, my cups don't fit in the cup holder.
I know some Lamborghinis don't even come with a cup holder. You have to pay extra for that.
I would lie if I tell you mine did or not. I don't remember, but I do clearly remember that not using the Aston Martin because my cups wouldn't fit, and it was hell to be driving it, pedal shifting, and you have the automatic button, but it's more uncomfortable. So I rather paddle shift.
Yeah. And because I know when I started in Meraki as well, you were taking flying lessons. When did you get your pilot license? I
started school in July of 2020, and well, actually, July doesn't count because when I signed up for flying school in July of 2020, but they immediately closed the school for 2 weeks because some pilots or some instructors got COVID. So they closed the whole school instead of just isolating the pilots. So I really started flying consistently in August. And that's when I purchased my plane. So I started flying consistently in August. I flew a lot in August, quite a bit in September. Then I don't think, I barely flew anything in October. I'm talking about as a student. Then November, I didn't fly at all. And in December, I started flying to prepare myself for the test. And I officially became a pilot on January 14th of 2021.
Okay.
I officially became a pilot on January 14th. My first flight solo, the first time I flew alone in my life, was on September 11th of 2020.
Oh, what a coincidence.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't know anyone that has purchased a plane. How do you buy a plane?
Well, it's just
Do
like
you
buying a
go
car. You look
online
at it.
or-
Yes, of course. There's
Okay.
going to be there's a website called controller.com where most people will list there's barn finders or barn something, and you just go online and start looking. But the thing is that it is like buying a car, but it is not like buying a car because the age of a plane means nothing. Okay, you can buy a brand new plane. It's just like buying a brand new car, but the car used to be owned by Hertz. It has a gazillion miles. Even though it's a 6-month-old car, it has more miles than a 20-year-old car, sort of like that. So you have to see who owned it, how well maintained it was. You have something called all the flight logs, mechanical logs, all the maintenance logs for everything: engine, airframe, avionics, propeller, and based on that. And I didn't know anything. So I was relying pretty much on my instructors. And I'm still very good friends with both of my instructors because I started with one instructor, and then he got a job as a private pilot flying for a corporate guy. So he gave my curriculum to someone else, and he also, both of them great pilots, and he's the one that finished me off to become a pilot. And to this day, as a matter of fact, I flew with him a few weeks ago because I hadn't flown all year. Last time I flew was in February. I don't remember if it was mid-February. I flew, and then I just parked the plane. Never touched it again because honestly, I'm not a big fan of winds. When it's too windy, I'd rather not fly because my experience is not that great. I don't have those many hours. I'm around the 200-hour neighborhood, so I'm a very low-hour pilot. And so when the winds die down, because I haven't flown in a while, I call him up and he goes flies with me. I call him my Dumbo feather. My analogy, you know how Dumbo flew, but he thought he needed the feather to fly, but in reality he didn't. Well, same thing is with this guy. When I go flying with him, his name is Adrian. That guy, like, we go up in the air. He left seat on a plane is the captain or the main pilot. Right seat on a plane is either a passenger or an instructor. He flies right seat, and the fucker doesn't even move his seat forward. What I mean by that is when you get into your car, you move your seat to adjust to be able to step on the pedals and everything. He doesn't. I guess he trusts me so much, but I was like, hey, I'm bringing you for a freaking reason. I need you to react in case I mess up. Taking off and flying, honestly, I don't see that as a problem at all. The one that I guess I become fearful of is the landings. And, well, not to toot my own horn, but he always tells me that I nail him, that I do a good job. But you have no idea the peace of mind it gives me to have the guy sitting next to me, even if he's not touching the controls at all.
And when you first purchased your plane, how much did you purchase it for?
When I first purchased my plane, if I'm not mistaken, it was around $150,000 more or less.
Oh, okay, that's not bad. That'd be a lot more.
But I put a lot of money into it.
Right now, do you know how much it's worth?
I would lie if I give you a price, but just in avionics, I put over $110K on it.
Wow.
Avionics
crazy.
is all the controls, all the...
Oh, okay. So it's kind of like a car. You could add different...
You can do whatever you want, yes.
Oh, that's cool.
And the reason I bought that plane for two reasons. Number one, it is it was within my budget, like something that I did not know if I was going to be using or not using or something, because I only fly like 30 hours a year, which is nothing, and sometimes not even that. And two, the plane that I really wanted to get, when I told the insurance company, they laughed at me because they wouldn't insure me.
No.
I'm a very low-hour pilot, so I'm not allowed to get a faster, bigger plane. So I found a compromise where the insurance company had to agree, which is called a 172 XP. Most Cessna's 172 have a 150 or 180 horsepower. Mine has 210. So it's behaves more like a 182, body-wise and everything, and it even has something called it's not a fixed propeller. It's a variable speed propeller where you move a knob and the propeller will feather differently to give you more or less RPMs. And it's over 200 horsepower. So all my flights now are considered high performance. So I have a little bit of benefit on that. But like I said, I rarely fly. And when I go fly, I go out, practice landings, or just go out, go to Ruidoso, land, come back, fly over to town, go to Roswell, fly over town. Roswell is a pretty cool airport because Roswell used to have Elvis's plane, and you would taxi right next to it. And then they had all the planes from the pandemic. A lot of the airlines went to park their planes there. As a matter of fact, one of the runways was inoperable because it was completely covered with planes. So at any given time, there must be like 300 airplanes there. You'll see planes from Alitalia, you'll see planes from Aeromexico, you'll see planes from American Airlines, you'll see planes from whatever.
Everywhere. And for example, right now, that obviously you've done investments, you've done a couple of businesses. If someone who's skeptical, who wants to start their business but doesn't know how to start, what would you tell them as advice?
One of the first things is you have to get into something that you understand. The concept, the product, what you're doing, and then know how you're going to distribute it to people. Because like I mentioned earlier, when I had the computer, yes, I could have had all the computer knowledge in the world at the moment, or think I had all the computer knowledge in the world, but I didn't know how to run the business. So you have to educate yourself on how you're going to move your product, price-wise, distribution-wise, and everything. But more than anything, dedication. Because one of the things I tell people is, I might not be the smartest person in the world, but I'm the most determined. Anything that gets into my mind happens. Either with your help or without your help, but it's going to happen.
So basically go and get it.
Determination.
Do it.
For me, determination is one of the biggest things that a person needs in order to succeed. Because you might have all the dreams in the world, but if you don't do anything about it, they'll remain on that, just a dream.
So for your company right now, AKWAPRO, what's next for it? What are your plans?
Well, obviously, we always want to expand to different cities, but one of the biggest problems with expansion, at least for us, is having a trustworthy installer. Because getting people that sell your product is not that difficult. It's getting a trustworthy, reliable installer, someone that knows that doesn't know it all, that knows that what type of quality control they have to have, and on top of that, know that if they make a mistake, go back and resolve the issue. And that's the biggest problem in mostly every industry. People don't want to work, or they half-ass whatever they do. So what has limited my expansion has been finding reliable people that want to work.
Right now, do you only have one installer?
Oh no, I have access to a lot of installers. It's just that you pick and choose depending on how they perform. They'll be the one. It's like when you have a sales team, right? And you get a lead, you're always going to give that lead to the person that is more capable of selling it, right? As opposed to giving it to the crappiest one. You do it with the people that you have the best track record, the cleanest installs, the no bullshit, because I'm very, very, very anal when it comes to punctuality. I always honor my commitments. Call it a good promise or a bad promise. Like if I tell you something good that's going to happen or something bad that's going to happen, I always honor it. So let's just say I don't do threats or I don't do pipe dream type of comments. If I commit to something, good or bad, it is going to happen. So if we tell a customer that their installer is going to be there between 7 and 9, my installer better be there at 6:30, because the 7 and 9 is in case there's an accident, there's a flat tire, there's something, but not because he has 2 hours of leisure to go buy groceries in the meantime. And if people can honor those commitments and all that stuff, then perfect. They're good to be with me. If not, I don't want them to work with me, because they expect for me to pay our agreed price. I expect for them to do what they agreed to do.
And right now, do you have any partners in your business?
Yes, Joel. I wouldn't be able to be growing and be able to.
Joel Barrios?
Joel Barrios, yes. Joel is my right arm. I wouldn't be able to be where I am without him, because alone you can accomplish a lot, but with the good team, you can accomplish a lot more. So once again, I mentioned it earlier. We all have different talents. And yes, we might be able to play here or there, but ultimately our strong points are different. So we combine his abilities with my abilities, and we manage to do stuff. We might disagree, like any other partner, like any other marriage, like any other whatever. We disagree, we bump heads, but ultimately we know how each other works, and we complement each other.
No, that's good. And right now with AKWAPRO, that I know that's your main thing that you're.
When it comes to business, that's my main business. The rest is just diversified investments.
Have you ever invested anything else, like real estate, anything like that?
You know, I've been dumb. I barely got into it. It's just that I've never been a fan of real estate for one reason, and I know people are going to grill me for that, but this is the way I reason it. My investments right now, at any given time, except stocks that I can only sell Monday through Friday while the stock market is open,
Yeah.
right? But my crypto, if anything were to happen and I need money right there and then, I can sell it right there, even if it's at a crappy price. Even if I have to sacrifice it or whatever, I know I can have access to that money right there and then. As opposed to real estate, even if it's a cash deal, it's still a 2-week thing.
Closing.
And if you're going to sacrifice it either way, like you're sacrificing your crypto or people that have that sell their watches, because that's how I got a hold of a lot of watches and cars and stuff like that. When the economy tanks, that's when I buy stuff.
Yeah.
Because people start like, hey, I have this watch and whatever. So, well, to me, it's worth this much. You know, if you want it, cash money right now, and that's how I buy stuff.
And to close out, so we could finish up, if someone wants to get into, for example, to talk to you, to have time with you, to sit at a table with you, as far as to network with you or other people that you've met, what advice would you give them so they could get
But
on the
what do you
same
mean, like
table
to?
with you?
Well, first of all, I don't like to waste my time, and I don't like to waste people's time. So if it's going to be something that is going to be productive for both of us, and when I call productive, I always say that I learn something every day. I don't care what background you have. I don't care what age you have. You can be younger. You can be older than me. I'm always open to learning something new. And like I mentioned earlier, we all have different talents. You might be bringing something that I have no clue about, and might even widen my spectrum. I use a Karate Kid a lot as an analogy, as the kid when he was making him paint and wipe and clean and everything. Like, what does that have to do with karate? And eventually, he managed to put it into context, right? Same thing here. We all complain about math and adding and subtracting, and yet everything we do in life is math. So it's just that. I will take whatever I can get from you, and then when the time comes, I will apply it. Because I'm always absorbing. I'm paying attention to every move. I'm paying attention to everything everyone does, because I know one day I'm gonna find some use for that.
Well, thank you so much for your time. I know your time is valuable. We'll go ahead and close out. Is there anything you would like to tell the viewers?
Not sure. Like I mentioned earlier, just whatever you ever do, pour your heart and soul into it. Like, just be determined to do whatever. And life is gonna throw you curveballs. Things are gonna suck. Not everything is pretty in business. We have sucky months. We have great months. And life can be a roller coaster. Of course, you always want it to be on a steady way up, but just like stocks, just like crypto, there's no such thing as always a steady thing. You get ups and you get downs. So don't ever give up. If you're gonna commit to something, commit, and know that even though you're gonna have bad months, good months are always gonna come as long as you continue to work. If you give up, of course, those bad months will go into worse months. So yeah, that's the advice. Just be determined and consistent.
All right. Thank you for your time, Casillas. You have yourself.
You're welcome. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.